Salutations readers, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nkechi, and for today I'm going to talk about all the books that I read in November. So November was a reading month. It's actually been really good. I think this is going to be the best well-read month. Not too much as far as the quantity of books, but really on just the quality. I just really wanted to read some really good books. I did not want to read books that I feel like are going to be meh, or I'm gonna find boring, or I'm just gonna struggle my way through reading them. That's not what I wanted to do as far as my reading life, because life outside of books has been very anxiety inducing. So I just really wanted to read some really good books. Granted, it didn't really yield in the most in quantity amount of books read as I've hoped, but I read some really good books, and I did read a couple books for Suki's readathon. I didn't read as much for it, unfortunately. I was really hoping to read more for Suki's readathon, but it was just not quite in the cards this time around. I don't know, a lot of the goals and stuff that I had, just the things I had in mind for November, as far as reading wise, they didn't fully come into fruition. So yeah, it is what it is, but regardless though, it was still a really good reading month. Regardless though, I will have to say that there's one thing though I do find to be kind of just like funny though, for November, is that this is this wild turkey that's been going around in my neighborhood for some reason. Like, I think I showed y'all a clip in my reading challenge vlog, I think, but I'll have a picture right here if y'all didn't see that vlog. But there's this one turkey that's just around my neighborhood, really just between my neighbors and this house. So it's just very weird. But it's also kind of funny because it's just like, you're just here? Like, why are you here? I don't know, it's not like completely odd to find wild turkeys here in the local metro area in my state, but it's also just weird, like this is this one particular turkey that's just sticking around. I mean, sure, you might find a turkey here and there, but they don't always stick around to one place. Sometimes they just move around, but this one in particular just stuck around. But I don't know, I think it's kind of like a little bit funny that there's this random turkey that's just been going around the neighborhood. But anyways, let's actually talk about some stats. So number of books read, 7, a solid number. Not the highest, but not the lowest. DNFs, 4. And all 4 of those DNFs are very much solid DNFs. These are not, I don't think I'm going to return to these books, like, at all. Number of pages read, 1,413 pages. Hours listened, 31.7 hours. With an average reading of 4.33 stars, which is really good. Like, literally, I think the lowest rated book is like 3.5, 3.75, somewhere around there. Very much a really good reading month. I'm very happy with these stats, actually. So let's actually now get to quickly just mention the books I DNF'd this month. I'm not gonna talk too much in depth about these books. I do have Anatomy. This book I DNF'd like at 10% because it just had something really weird and I was not here for it. Very quick DNF, unfortunately. Lady Macbeth. That one, solid DNF around 55%. Do not see myself coming back to that one. And I think Xian Lende? I don't really know quite how to pronounce this book. It's by Darcy Littlebatch. It's the prequel to A Lat's Away. Unfortunately, this one's a solid DNF as well, 40%. And then Blood of the Old Kings. This one was an arc, and I did not touch this arc for weeks. I couldn't do it anymore. I was like, I couldn't do it anymore. I DNF'd it like a quarter of the way through. But anyways, besides those DNFs, let's actually get to the books that are actually really good, that I pretty much recommend for as many people as I can for all these books, really. I think I actually do recommend all these books. So yeah, let's actually just get through all of them. First up is A Crane Among Wolves by June Her. This is a young adult historical mystery. This is June Her's 4th novel, where we're following Isolde, who is a young noblewoman in Joseon Dynasty, Korea, who finds out that her sister was kidnapped by the tyrant king, and she is trying to find her and bring her back home. But then we also follow the bastard prince, who is the brother to the tyrant king, who's trying to lead a coup to overthrow his brother. And there's a romance between the prince and Isolde. And I have to say, this was actually really good. I did read this one via audio, and I do recommend the audiobook. I did also read, what was it? The Red Palace by June Her? Yeah, that one I also really enjoyed via audio. This one, A Crane Among Wolves, this one, I don't know if I prefer more so with the Red Palace or not. Maybe it's a recency bias, I don't really know. But I really enjoyed A Crane Among Wolves, especially on the writing standpoint. The mystery stuff was pretty solid. I did and I did appreciate the pacing. It's not my favorite mystery, but like I do think the mystery is pretty solid in here. Although I do have to say, fair warning though, there is a lot of like talk regarding rape and sexual violence against women in this book. It is indeed mentioned in the author's note at the very beginning of the book that that's something like a part of Korean history, especially in this dynasty with this particular tyrant king. That's one of the things that he does is that he kidnaps young women, he murders them, he also rapes them, and so it's a whole thing. So do fair warning, that is definitely mentioned. There is no such sexual violence quite like on page or anything, but it is indeed constantly mentioned, and it is off page, so that is something to keep in mind with. But I do recommend if you are interested, and it's actually one of my most anticipated releases of the year, and I'm very glad it did not disappoint me. Next up, Role Playing by Kathy Yardley. I had this book on my physical TBR for like I think about a year now, and I'm very excited that I managed to read this book. So I did read it for my Reading Challenge vlog, which I will link that Reading Challenge vlog down below. So I already talk a lot about role playing, but if for any of y'all who do not know, I was reading it for Suki's Readathon because it has like a heart on the cover a little bit here, and also features a protagonist who is a mother. So we follow Maggie, who is pretty much like a grump, empty nester, pretty much recluse to herself, and she's been playing like this online game. And she's getting close to one particular person on the online game. She doesn't know who he really is. And that's where we also meet with Aiden, who is in his 50s, early 50s, who's taking care of his mother. And yeah, these two just fall in love, pretty much. And this is just a really good romance. It has demisexual rep because Aiden he actually finds out, learns for himself actually, he's demisexual. He's also bisexual as well. So that's also really fun. And I don't know, I just really like this. This was just a really sweet romance, and I'm so glad I read this though, because I heard so many good things about role-playing last year that I really wanted to check out role-playing for this year. I will say though, for content warnings though, for sure though, there is homophobia, biphobia, acephobia, emotional abuse. There is death of parent mentioned. Yeah, it's just a lot. It's definitely a lot of the emotional abuse. So that was definitely the biggest headache of the book, was definitely the emotional abuse, because oh my gosh, Aiden's mom pissed me off. Actually, honestly, a lot of his family pissed me off, not gonna lie. So yeah, but I definitely do recommend role-playing, especially if you're interested in reading a contemporary romance featuring just middle-aged, slightly older characters. Like, Maggie's literally like 48, Aiden is like 50. So like, we're dealing with much older, mature characters. So if any of y'all are interested in reading characters from that like age group, I do recommend role-playing. And in that reading vlog, I also did read There's Always This Year on Basketball and Ascension by Hanifa Durkheim. This is actually the first Hanifa Durkheim that I finished reading, because I did start one of his other essay collections. I didn't finish it, not yet, but it's the only one I did read and finish. So yeah, this one I read via audio. It came out this year. I did not give it a rating because it's nonfiction. It's literally as a collection on like, it's like memoir, but it's also about sports, like specifically on basketball. And even though I'm not really a fan of basketball, I do recommend it for people who, you know, both are fans of basketball and for ones who are not fans of basketball, because it's more than just basketball. It's also about what basketball means to a community and like who gets to like reach to that point, fame and recognition, but also there's parts about Hanifa Durkheim's life as well, and how he views basketball as like the sport itself and what that means to him. And I don't know, I think this is just a really good essay collection and also memoir at the same time. So if you have not checked out Hanifa Durkheim's works, I definitely do recommend this one. I don't know as far as starting them, because again, I'm new to reading anything by Hanifa Durkheim, but I will say he does narrate this audiobook, so I do at least recommend the audiobook for sure. But yeah, this is definitely a favorite nonfiction book for sure. And it's the only nonfiction I managed to read this month. I didn't plan on doing nonfiction November or anything, but if any of y'all are interested, I do recommend reading There's Always This Year. And then another book I also read for that reading challenge, Thyme Travellers, an anthology of Palestinian speculative fiction, edited by Sonia Soleiman. So this is like a collection of 14 short stories from various Palestinians from across the diaspora, and it's pretty much just all speculative fiction works. And I have to say that as far as anthologies are concerned, I don't really read many anthologies. I'm more of a short story collection kind of person, but I have to say this is the strongest anthology I've read in like a good long minute. Like every single one of these short stories, I would say ranges from like a 4 to like even a 5 star for me. I really enjoy like a lot, even just all of these short stories. And it's also a very short anthology. It's less than 200 pages. These stories are quite short. A lot of these are pretty short, and there's a few that's somewhat a little bit alongside, but like these are like really good short stories. I do recommend for as many people just to like read, especially if you are someone who wants to read some speculative fiction or just like more into just speculative fiction, but you want to read from like Palestinian writers and authors, then I do recommend this anthology for sure. And especially since it is so short, definitely recommend checking it out. And I gave this one 4.5 stars, and I read it on my Kindle. And then also in that reading challenge vlog, geez, I read a lot of books in the reading challenge vlog, but I did also finish reading my arc of Blood Over Brighthaven by Emma Wong. This one was originally published, it's like self-published, I think last year or something, or 2 years ago, but now it's been traditionally published this year as of October 29th. So thanks to Del Rey Books for the e-art. I did give this book 4 stars. I do think that the beginning is quite slow with a lot of info dumping because it takes a while for you to like really get the groove of like how we're gonna move through the story. And it's also a lot more character driven. So if you're here for something with more of a plot, the plot's not the main focus here. It's more so following Sayana and just her finding out the truth of where magic came from, basically, and pretty much her dealing with her racist, xenophobic, elitist, classic viewpoints, as well, and dealing with like her selfishness. So yeah, there's just a lot going on with like this main character. So definitely be here to go through like a whole character study. But it's very much dark academia, definitely perfect for fans of Babel. And it's more fantasy than speculative, unlike Babel, which is more speculative than fantasy. So I do recommend it to check it out if you haven't already. And yeah, I definitely am looking forward to reading The Sword of Kaige now by Emma Wong. And then I did read 12th Knight by Alexine Farrell-Fulmuth in my, I think, video diary. Yeah, the Minnesota Autumn Diary number 12, which I will also link in the video description down below if you have not checked it out already. This one is another contemporary romance. It's young adult though, kind of similar to role-playing. It's similar to role-playing in the sense of that we're doing with another online game situation where 2 people find out through each other through online gaming and find love. But like the title suggests, it is a retelling of 12th Knight by William Shakespeare. I've never read the play, not familiar with the play at all before I read this book. But I will have to say this was a really good romance book. I give this one 4.75 stars. This one's a hybrid read, maybe leaning more to the audiobook than physical. But I do recommend 12th Knight if you have not checked it out already. It does deal with like, it does have like this kind of enemies to lovers romance, and it does also deal with a lot of misogyny, sexism of young girls and women in the fandom spaces, especially in gaming spaces. I really did grow to appreciate these characters. Again, it's this whole little bit of line reveal thing, especially if you are familiar with 12th Knight and the plot wise. I was not quite a fan of this whole liar thing, keeping secret identity kind of thing and all that. So that's why it's not like a 5-star read, but it's such a really good romance though, and I'm very glad that I managed to read it. And also it does have a heart on the cover, so it does fit for Suki's readathon as well. So yeah, actually the 2 books I have physically with me fit for Suki's readathon, and I do recommend both of these. And they're both romances, so who knew? Both romances about games. Like, who would have figured? And then I did end the month with The Bruising of Qilwa by, who was it? Nassim Jemnia. They got out as a queer historical fantasy where we're following we have a non-binary protagonist who enters a city-state as like some sort of like a blood magician kind of person who's trying to hide that fact because they want to be more like a healer. And then there's like this weird blood bruising disease going around in this city as well. Yeah, there's definitely talks regarding xenophobia, but there's also talks regarding colonization. Like there's this interesting like discussion regarding the fact that the immigrants who are coming into this city came from a country that used to colonize that city. So it's a very interesting viewpoint and like a historical and political standpoint from there. But it's very interesting. And the plot about regarding like how this blood bruising thing's going on, I felt that part to be a little bit slow, even though the actual pacing of the story feels very wonky to me. So I did debate on like my rating. I was like, is it 3.75 or is it more like a 3.5? Because like, I did like the themes that I was exploring, but I did find the pacing to be quite wonky. Not just in plot, but also in character development, because the book is also not very long. I did have the physical book borrowed from my library, but I went with the audiobook instead because like there actually are no chapters. There's only like, the book is literally sectioned off into like 3 parts because it's like a span of 3 years that this story is taking place in. And I did find that to be a little bit annoying, because I'm like, I don't like the fact there's actually no chapters, and that these parts, the first 2 parts for sure, like for year 1 and year 2, are quite long. And despite the fact that it's short, so we're getting through these things pretty quickly, but I also found the actual character development of these characters to not be as strong. So the main character, I felt like, was somewhat of a solid character, but not so strong. And they also had a brother who's dealing with a lot of dysphoria, so there is a lot of dysphoria portrayed and mentioned for sure in the story. And for me, that felt, I don't know, I didn't particularly like on how long his brother was experiencing this amount of dysphoria for a long period of time. I don't know, this story is very much a little bit wonky in my own brain, to be quite honest, but I do still think it's a solid enough story, if that makes sense. I don't know, my review for this book is very much just all over the place, because I don't really know where I was mentally regarding the story, but like, I don't know how long this story is really gonna really stick in my mind, but I did still have a pretty solid enough time with it, if that makes sense. So I'm not totally sure if to recommend it or not, but if you're interested, check it out at least. It's not very long. You'll get through it maybe in a day or 2, depending on your reading speed. But yeah, that was that one. It's a little bit weird, but I actually am quite curious though to see what this author has in store maybe in the future for us in other works. But yeah, this was a little bit wonky, but like, it's solid enough that I didn't feel like DNFing it, and also it was so short, so I was like, let's just keep reading it. But yeah, that's it though. That's all the books I read this month. These are the 2 books I have with me physically, and then everything else were digital. And so all in all, November as a reading month was really good as far as like reading wise and the quality of my reads, but as far as where I was mentally, all over the place, I guess. Like, I don't know, it's towards the end of the year. I'm pretty much just over 2020. I'm over this year pretty much. I'm like, really, I'm over it. I want this year to be done. I just want to just move on to 2025 already. So as far as December is concerned, I don't even know what the hell I'm doing in December. I really do not know, y'all. Y'all's guess is as good as mine. Like, I don't know what to even expect. Like, there's so many books I'm currently reading. There's books I want to start reading and finish reading. There's arcs I really want to read before I get to 2025, because I also have arcs for 2025, but I don't think I'm going to read the arcs for 2024 before 2025 starts, so I don't even know. Generally, I have no idea how December is going to look. I'm not even going to have expectations for myself for December, because what's even the point? One thing y'all can at least expect for December is definitely some end of the year content and some goal videos, stuff like that, so look forward to those videos whenever they come out. But anyways, yes, that's pretty much it. That's all I have for y'all for November wrap up. Y'all let me know y'all's thoughts on any of these books. If y'all read any of these books, what were some books y'all read in November? Are there any standouts? Did y'all DNF a lot? Any bad books? I don't know. Y'all let me know how November treated y'all for your reading month. And if you made it this far into the video, you're not sure what to say, but want to leave me an emoji to let me know you're here, leave me a turkey emoji for that wild turkey that is still around here in my neighborhood. I don't know where it's chilling right now, but the turkey is here somewhere. But anyways, thank you all again for coming to my video, and I hope you like it, comment, subscribe if you feel like it, and I hope to see you on my next one. Bye.